thank you for joining me here tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. I know it's kind of getting late and everything, but I think I can kind of ramble on about some knives about any time of the day, right?
Yeah, it's about all of probably 80% of my time is spent anyways. And we both have kids and dealing with that. You're doing what I should be doing. I've been sweating my butt off all day. I don't even know if this shows how filthy and sweaty I am, but I am having a late one. This is a Kentucky thing. So if you come to Kentucky, you got to try a late one and a ski.
I might have to try one of those. Is that a beer or just a kind of a beverage?
It's a ginger ale, and a
Oh,
ski is kind of like a citrus soda.
oh, okay, all right.
You ever heard the Kentucky headhunters? What's up, Callie? The Kentucky headhunters say small burger fries or a slaw burger fries and a bottle of ski. Bring it on down to my baby and me.
No, I
That
have
part of the
not.
song.
Apparently, I'm not a Kentucky native, so
That's nationwide Kentucky headhunters.
hmm.
Side babies, you are cool. Oh, I'm in your live chat on my computer still. So I was getting comments. Somebody named Side Babies likes you, apparently. So, so that's a thing. Let me see if I can get onto my own live so I can see my comments better here. So, Kronos Knives.
Yeah, I think
You
that was
guys,
one of
you
our
guys,
topics tonight.
yeah, you guys came to Blade Show Texas, but you did not come to Blade Show Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I oh, I could
Yeah.
make Blade Show Atlanta. I came down to Texas because it's a lot closer to Missouri than Georgia is, and personally, I think I'd rather deal with Texas than Georgia. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's all hot. It's all brutal.
yeah, how was
Jo-
Blade Show
Josh
Atlanta?
from Red Josh from Redbeard Blade was just a happy liberation from England Day.
Treason is
Um,
reason for the season.
Callie, go have fun with Gabe. I hope you guys have a good time and use some of those knives. Oh, and there's Jake at Very Good Knife Company. Uh, what's up, man? So, okay, I've got to focus now. What did you just ask?
Oh, I was asking how was Blade Show Atlanta? I know that's been what about a month now or so, but
For,
uh,
for me, it's a whole different thing. I don't think I'll go back to Blade Show, Texas. Uh,
okay.
I hate the venue.
Well, that
It,
venue I know was very awkward to even get to it because it was downtown, and then no matter where you almost had to walk a mile to even get to the actual venue.
yeah, and all of the parking was bad. The parking there is predatory, so I paid for my parking, but they gave me an oversized fine because I had my car and my trailer, but my car and my mini trailer is shorter than like an extra cab long bed truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And the parking lot was empty. Oversized parking obstructing. Go die. So anyways, I didn't enjoy the venue. I'd certainly prefer Atlanta. And so we're talking about Kronos knives tonight. And for the people that don't know, the reason we're talking about blade shows, Kronos knives really must have invested pretty heavily, stepped up to the plate, and became one of, I think, the primary sponsors of Blade Show Atlanta.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, well, Kronos knives, and again, for whoever doesn't know, they are PSA, Palmetto State Armory, the firearms company, created a knife division, and they've got some good knife makers involved. And somebody pulling the strings, maybe not so familiar with the knife industry. I don't know. So that's where I guess we will start and get into this.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start off with a caveat here, real quick. I am a fan of Palmetto State Armory. I have several PSA rifles and a couple daggers and the pistols, and I've always liked PSA. And so when anything I say about Kronos tonight is not attacking PSA or even Kronos knives, I actually just hope that they can kind of redirect things for a more positive direction for the knife world, I guess.
Yeah, so to answer some questions here, Callie, today I am carrying the Trout Edition Adventure Craft. I have it on one of the new leather belt dangler accessories that I'm not going to take off of my belt to show here, but those will be on the website very soon. They come with a ferro rod on them. Gabe, what are you carrying?
Well, I'm carrying two knives on me right now. I have the um White River Knives Ursus Cub with the Lucas Carroll custom grips on it. Look at that bad boy. He's already sold a crap ton of these grips already, by the way. And
I
then
believe it.
I got one in my pocket, and that's the Demco 80 20.5 as well. So
I sure do like the Demco knives. Um, all right. And Mitchell Black asks, any thoughts on the Kronos bayonet they sell on PSA? We will certainly be talking about that tonight.
actually,
Joel,
I'll just straight up say right off the bat, I think it looks like a dysfunctional shovel.
so when I was in Afghanistan, there was this horrendous Bowie knife with a big belly and a saw on the back that sold everywhere. And uh it was made in Pakistan, and it's what was sold just across the board everywhere. And you'll see it under certain brands now. I think Buck and Bear Knives, that one company that tried to go big with their Pakistani knives. Excuse me. I think they sold it. What's up, Canadian Craftsman? How you doing, bud? Um, And so the issue, I think, stems from a misunderstanding of what tactical means. And so we have Palmetto State Armory trying to get into the knife industry and feeling that they need to be tactical, most likely. But whoever is working there probably doesn't fully understand the knife market, the tactical implementation of knives. Good night, Callie. The tactical implementation of knives, and maybe, in my opinion, might not be in touch with the market as much as they should be to be running such a absolutely massive investment. And so, for people who don't know, this is not a one brand, one maker deal. We have input from Alan Arment from Primitive Bear Knives. We've got, oh, my brain is killing me. Of course, we've got Ken Onion, Stroop. What is his name? Why is
Is it
my
Chris
brain
Strope?
failing me now?
Is it
Huh?
Chris Strope?
Yeah, yeah, and I think he's doing a lot of, if not all of, the American manufacturing for the fixed blades and 1095. Um, Canadian Craftsman says he has the big ugly Pakistani Bowie. So I guess you have a couple subs waiting on your channel. I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe we could drop them a comment on your channel really quick or something like that.
here, I'll see if I can get on there real quick.
While you do that, Julio Fulio said Benchmade all the way. So, I've talked quite a bit about Benchmade. The problem with Benchmade is they're over there in Oregon. They started donating to Democrats. It came to light when they were chopping up guns for their local gun store. And as it turns out, in 2016, they transferred to 100% of their political donations going to the Democrat Party. And what people don't know is simultaneously they cut off all ties with um, knife rights and Doug Ritter and Doug Ritter's design and the Ritter grip. Um, and connecting the dots, I would say that would be for being pro 2A, and whatever favors they needed for the local Democrats probably didn't appreciate them being directly associated with a pro 2A organization, or maybe Benchmade's just anti 2A themselves. It's hard to say, but you won't see Benchmade on this channel. That is for sure.
That's actually one that I won't have on my channel. Actually, so my pocket knife that I carried when I heard of that whole Benchmade debacle was a Benchmade Griptilian, and I got so pissed off I took it outside, set it on a piece of concrete, and I grabbed my sledgehammer and smashed it and just threw it out in the field. So
It was a bad deal. It sucks overall with Benchmade there. So George Cook asks if Kronos a designer of knives who farms out the manufacture to other vendors, or do they do it all in house? So Kronos is a brand. They have multiple designers and multiple manufacturers. I don't know all of their manufacturers, and guys, I really don't have behind the scenes industry exclusive knowledge about Kronos. Not really. I know Alan. We both do. He's a great guy, but I'm not tied into PSA in that way, which I should be. It would be smart for me to work in that direction, being that I already am affiliated with Palmetto State Armory, and knives are my thing. But as I understand it right now, for the most part, we have manufacturing being done by Stroop Knives out of 1095 in the U.S. up there by Fort Bragg, and then we have some knives manufactured in Italy by, I don't know if it's by Fox specifically or by the larger NKM family of knife brands, because I'm pretty sure they're all. And again, I don't have background information on these Italian brown brands either, but I feel like they're all sister companies, or they have like one parent company running
yeah,
the show. Do you know anything about that?
thing before, and I'm not entirely sure the whole deal because I know I was kind of in contact with um contact with Lion Steel for a little while, and I kind of got that same impression that they were kind of all like under one roof type of thing. So I'm not.
I I feel like Fox Knives is kind of like the what's up, Timbo? Good to have you, bud. I feel like Fox Knives is kind of the budget brand of the family of brands. When I say that, I do believe Fox Knives are fantastic for the price overall. So don't take that the wrong way. And then I think Lion Steel is kind of a step above, using usually generally more premium materials, and MKM themselves focusing more on folders. We have Giant Mouse, which I love Giant Mouse's style.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
there's
and
a
knives.
few giant mouse knives that I've been wanting to try for quite some time, and I just haven't ever got one. As you probably know, like everybody else these days, I just don't have the money to spend on a bunch of knives like I used to. So, it's kind of get some, sell some, get some more, sell some, and go from there type of thing. So,
Yeah, it's hard. It's very, very hard. And it's not like we make any freaking money that's worth a dang on YouTube or
well,
anywhere
that's
else.
something that gets me is a lot of people, and I don't think they like comprehend this. Like, a YouTuber doesn't make that much money on YouTube. I'll be straight up. I barely, if any, make $100 a month off of YouTube. I put more time and money into YouTube than I ever get out of it for sure.
Oh, no doubt. If you're getting $100 a month actually paid out, you're making significantly more than I am. So I get about $100 check probably every maybe 3 months.
Hmm.
So Yeah, Josh said he wishes American companies would have each other's back. It's few and far between, sadly. Um, so W49 Bowie said Makita Group, NKM, Mercury Knives, Viper, Technocut, Fox Knives, Lion Steel, all are in cahoots, all conduct suboptimal heat treatments. I don't know. I have heard that people don't like their heat treats because they say that they are too soft. I have not felt that way myself. I know that the Maceo 2 machete from Fox that I had an absolutely wonderful heat treat. And I see people, especially YouTubers, there you go,
This is a
say,
Steel T6 and CPM 3V, and honestly, I don't feel like I've had any heat treat issues out of this one in particular. So
well, I think sometimes what people consider a heat treat issue is not having the heat treat that they want. Uh, yes, getting likes does help. I used to actually tell everyone to dislike all of my videos because that was really good for the algorithm way back in the day, and I actually disliked all of my own videos. And people would be like, "Why is there always one butthole on your channel that dislikes all your videos?" And I don't know. Anyways, that was something that Jaeger recommended back in the day. Um, but these guys, they have each other's backs in Italy, I'm sure, because they are in cahoots or they have the same parent company. Here in the U.S., um, we're not all connected. We're all separate, and so we don't have some of the change that those guys probably have. But anyways, when it comes to heat treat, guys, you cannot say a heat treat is good or bad because a number you see on paper. Two knives can have the exact same hardness. They can both be 63, 58, or 79, and one can be well heat treated and the other can be absolute trash. I think it was Outdoor 55 did an absolutely wonderful job of actually taking the time to demonstrate this. And oddly, at the same Rockwell, all of the knives that he demonstrated and made exactly the same all had the same edge holding, which is I would not always expect that. I think you can get different amounts of edge holding at the same hardness, but in his case, it was all pretty much exactly the same. But where the real difference came in was toughness. And two of the he had a knife that was heat treated correctly, a knife that was heat treated almost correctly, I think, a knife that was heat treated pretty bad, and then a knife that was heat treated really bad. They're all the exact same hardness, and the toughness just went straight down, just as you would expect to trash. So when people say that the heat treat is bad because it's soft, I wonder what people mean. Do you mean that you don't have as much edge holding as you want? Do you mean that somebody said that the hardness should be at a number that they didn't reach, so you think that they have bad heat treat? Or did you have failure? Because the real telltale sign of a bad heat treat is failure. An overly soft heat treat can be a sign of laziness, because they don't want warranty returns. But typically, when we're talking about that, we're talking about your 1095 knives that are hardened to 54, not most of the knives that we're talking about. I'm going to be doing some knives in 1V, and I think I want to do them right all the way down at 60, and I'll have toughness probably far beyond that of 3V. And I could have as much toughness as 3V at 58 with 1V at like 62, I think. However, I would still have worse edge holding. So, what would be the point? It'd be harder to sharpen for nothing. So, everybody sharpens Z Tough and 1V and CD1 or hardens them up to like 64 because they can, but your edge holding still isn't good. Just because it's harder in another steel doesn't mean the edge holding is better. And now it's just as tough as 3V and it doesn't hold an edge as well, but it's probably going to be harder to sharpen because it is harder. What's the point? Let's do that sucker at 59 and punch it through a doggone tank. Anyways,
Well, I think, and I'll just kind of wrap that topic up real quick. I think what's happened is the EDC hipster crowd has kind of infected the knife community with
oh my
cardboard
gosh.
cutting, and it's like cardboard cutting, cardboard cutting, cardboard cutting. It's like if all you're doing is cutting cardboard all day, just use a box knife. I guess I don't know,
Yeah, right, right.
but
That's probably further off topic than I
yeah, that's
want to
going
get
down.
at the moment. We're going in a dangerous direction here. Brandon Sutton said CD1 8670 5160 are his favorite steels. Uh, that those are all just awesome steels. Give 15 and 20 a try. And yeah, just
Well, if you're
fantastic. And then
getting
your
my
CD1, I think,
feeling,
is for intents and purposes the same as Z Tough as well as CPM 1V. So back to Kronos knives. I think that somebody pulling the strings at the top maybe isn't a knife guy because we have things like that bayonet, and I don't myself. Redbeard Blade said cardboard's a good way to ruin an edge. Also, that's absolutely true. Um, I don't believe that there are any redeeming qualities that I see. That's a pretty harsh thing to say, but I don't see any redeeming qualities in the overall design language of the Kronos bayonet. It looks like somebody made something specifically to look different and to sell and watched a lot of Hollywood and wanted to throw a bunch of crap on a knife to sell it.
well, here's what I'm seeing out of Kronos, and this is just my opinion. Is I'm seeing a lot of what I would almost consider tactical mall ninja looking stuff. And that's all it is just mall ninja stuff. And, I'll kind of start off on a caveat here. You and I both have served in the military. We both were infantry guys. And, you know, just kind of looking back on it, the kind of the I guess the stereotypical model of knife that a lot of people thinks of when they think of a like military tactical knife is like the USMC K bar. The USMC K bar is actually for that purpose a decent knife. I mean, it's a utility knife, and I think a lot of people when they think of a tactical knife, they think that, you're going to be fighting ninjas or something like that. And it's like, well, you're carrying a rifle and gear and everything like that. Like that's why you have a rifle, and so the knife, for the most part, is a utility tool. And so if it cannot perform as a utility tool, then it's not going to be very useful, and you're probably not even going to carry it once you're carrying a backpack and backpack carbine and a plate carrier and all that good stuff. And so that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
Ten a combat knife has not been a fighting knife since you could argue probably World War One, but even in World War One, militaries were learning like, hey, it's time to move away from this. Probably the last time a combat knife filled a large role as a fighting knife was probably the Civil and Revolutionary War,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well,
And
you do realize a large knife like the Confederate D guard buoy or something like that. A lot of times those were called a sidearm, and it was just because the common foot soldier didn't have the money to buy like a sword or something, and you only had one shot out of a musket, and so your sidearm was like your large fighting knife per se.
yeah, yeah. So that is kind of a bummer. They talked about bushcraft And I don't feel that any of the knives that they have released are bushcraft focused designs. Josh, by the way, Josh at Redbeard Blades is a high speed dude, also former military, makes an absolutely fantastic custom knife. And he's more than just former military, by the way, but I'll let you guys figure some of that out. But he said most people fought MREs with their blades. So in the military, I was a guy out there carrying a Tops dart, and it was probably the dumbest knife ever to carry, knowing what I know now, and it
Well,
was absolutely terrible.
the brand kind of sets you back right off the bat, but um, I'll tell everybody that the two knives that I carried the most while I was in the Marines was the Becker BK7. I don't know why I was like a fanboy of the Becker BK7, and as I kind of got a little more salty and stuff, I started carrying the SE4 a lot just because it's like I don't want to carry something as big as even the Becker BK7 a lot of times. This is actually my second SE4. My original one I had while I was still in the Marines, I gave to a friend. So I then I kind of missed the SE4 and decided to buy another SE4. So
Most what people would be shocked if they realized that what most people carry in the military as a knife is a freaking pocket knife.
yeah, and you know what was crazy is in my infantry unit in the Marines, there was some guys that didn't even carry that. And I would actually get mad at as a squad leader, I got mad at him. I was like, "What the actual f?" Type of thing.
Yeah. Um, I experienced that too, and it's always, "Can I borrow your knife?"
Yeah,
Bro, quit dipping for 10 seconds to save up enough money to buy yourself a freaking knife.
yeah.
Uh, Anyways, Canadian Craftsman said Vietnam had a lot of hand to hand with knives, and there was a general who carried a saber onto the beaches of Normandy. I believe there's actually a Scotsman or something who carried a freaking
Longbow and yeah,
claymore
Scottish
and a
rug.
long, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, I can see where maybe in the tunnels or something, the fighting knife would be practical. But even in the jungle where things ended up getting close, I doubt that a fighting knife was used in the way people fantasize about it being used very often at all. Still, because your primary is still your gun. That's just the way it is. And what's worse about this is companies that work to take advantage of their customers' view of these knives. And this knife saved 77 people in combat, and it killed. Shut up. No, it didn't. Stop it. Just stop lying, because it's really awful. Um
carry knife weight is real. How many young fellows think go? Hmm.
yeah, modern soldiers generally don't carry a humongous knife. They carry a small knife, if any knife at all. Anyway, so Kronos. All right. We keep getting off. Man, I don't know. Uh they've got enough of a talent pool already to, I think, probably take advice from their guys. But where they're going right now, I feel like we have maybe probably too focused on aesthetics. And the deal is, Kronos Knives is obviously willing to throw huge money at this, becoming a sponsor of Blade Show and everything like that. I don't think even after Blade Show that most people knew what Kronos Knives was. Friends here didn't know, in this very chat, who are at Blade Show, didn't know that Kronos Knives was a thing or was affiliated with Blade Show. So uh, so the purpose of this chat, obviously we want to talk about Kronos Knives because I do think it's a big deal. I do think it's worth talking about. But the purpose would certainly be to help. or to be beneficial to them, because I think we see another brand coming up. We see a lot of potential. They've got the money, they've got the backing, they've got the motivation. Uh, it just looks like we need somebody tied into the industry who knows the current of the market to have a little bit more say in the aesthetic of the brand. Because if we're going to try and stand apart from everything else in the community just with looks and looking cooler than everything else, yeah, I think that is an easy way to be hated and to alienate a large part of your core audience. And the truth is, or the core knife audience, the truth is, PSA can make whatever the piss they want out of whatever they want, and it'll sell on their website because they're freaking PSA. And your average gun dude is not a knife dude. But at the same time, if that's what you're going to rely on, you don't have to sponsor BladeShow because you're making money off of people who don't know anything about knives. So if you want to invest in the knife community and get knife people on board, I don't think we've taken some of the proper steps to brand ourselves, maybe. What do you think?
I definitely think that they need to reach out to more like, I don't know exactly how to put this. They need to reach out to more knife people and not just trying to sell tactical mall ninja looking stuff. And kind of like you said, reach out to people that's actually seeing what direction the market's going, what people are actually looking for. Because like I'm kind of looking at some of their blades right now, and I see, okay, the shovel looking bayonet that wouldn't even actually perform like a bayonet should, because
The bayonet's gross. Just
the
flat out, in my opinion, the bayonet is gross.
yeah, in my opinion here, a bayonet's supposed to stab, right? It's supposed to be a spear basically at the end of a rifle. Well, when you got this thing that's like flared out like a shovel and looks more like a digging tool than a spear, then that's kind
Yeah,
of,
well, and then the recurve
yeah. It,
with
it,
the serrations.
it and then um so we'll just kind of go down the line here. Um, the one that actually looks kind of decent to me is the flat out, and I think that's actually their most selling um, model. The
I think that looks like a Stroop design, and it looks like a practical knife that's not trying to do too much. I
Yeah,
bet it is their best-selling knife, and that should say something to them like, "Stop with all of this aesthetic crap that you're doing."
yeah. Well, most people want, it's kind of like I said with the USMCK bar. Why is that like a staple military knife? It's because it's a utility knife. It actually can perform utility tasks very well. And so, like the Kronos flat out, that looks like a utility knife. I've handled one. My twin brother actually got one. And the only issue I had with it is it had a very shallow grind. I think if to improve on that knife, I think if they brought the grind up a lot higher, like a more of a high saber grind or a full flat grind, be perfect.
But
But
it is also, I hate to be this guy. If we're going to be doing like these tactically things, it is also 1095. And so, depending on how you're heat treating them wherever, they're not going to be selling to knife people. They probably want, especially at these prices, they probably want as little warranty work as they can get. So they're probably going to do a shallow grind and a thick edge, because people are going to buy these things and use them to, gosh, I don't know, freaking cut open ammo cans. Like, I don't know. No.
probably. And they got a whole list of folders here I'm looking at. And I'm not really like real big on the folders, and I don't even know who's actually making their folders. So I don't really have
I think that's Fox. At 75 bucks, that is a great price. I absolutely hate, and all they've got's a Tanto.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Ugh. Ugh, brother. Ugh. No, those aren't Fox because those are China. But bro, if you're gonna order these knives from China, instead of giving us all the color options, give us a blade option.
Yeah.
75 bucks for a Chinese made folder. I don't know.
I mean, well, put something in perspective. That's an Ontario Rat one, and you could still pick these up for like $40. And
Yeah,
yeah, on these, but I'd take this
40
over.
bucks. Yeah. The Aries. Oh my. I need to watch what I say here so I don't say too much and get myself in trouble. Who designed this one?
The Tanto with the um uh
Good night.
here, actually I'll flip my whole thing around here so people could kind of look at what actually I'll just do this here. So this is kind of the model that we're looking at right here. I'm using a phone. I'm redneck out in the woods here, so bear with me here, folks. I don't got the CIA funding a studio for me here. And then look at that giga gayness right there.
Well, here's what's hard. Well, here's what's a bummer about this is they're selling it for 120 bucks. And the truth is, if they could do a decent design and sell that for 120 bucks, they'd be the only bayonet in town that was worth a dang, and it would be affordable, and that'd be really cool. They're made by Fox in Italy. It looks like the edge geometry is probably far, far superior than to something like the M9. The quality is probably far superior to the OKC3S because it was made by Ontario. So, um, so there's so much potential at $120 for sales, but like, what the hell are we doing? And the handle too. It looks like someone was like, "Sweet, we got bayonet handle. We need more detail. Can you put something on there to look
Tactic.
more,
Yeah, like add some
more cowbell?"
grooves and make it kind of a slightly curved handle for a bayonet too, because that's gonna be like real functional. I don't know. And that one in particular, it looks like they're trying to go with like a sawback, clip point, kukri, recurve.
It's way too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
Their one folder that looks relatively normal is sold out. So I'm hoping that just based on sales, and it's made in Italy, I'm hoping that just based on sales, this video will be completely unnecessary and somebody at Kronos will be like, "Hey guys, freaking, here's the deal. We're hecking it somewhere here." They've got this steadfast, which looks way better than the Aries, just uncomparably better. But then we've got the serrations and some of that jimping, and it's just like, look, Kronos or Tops, putting more details on the knife might actually make it sell better to ignorant people. But if you need more details on it to get the sales, it probably isn't worth selling. Like, stop adding crap just to give people something to look at. It's kind of like Hollywood. The bad guy's all kitted up, looking all rad in black, and he's got shotgun shells all lining down here, but he's not doesn't have a shotgun, and he never has in the whole show. Like, Hollywood does this all the time. Nobody is carrying all this extra bull crap over every inch of their bodies for no freaking reason. You can even look at like pirate movies for Hollywood, and somehow they get these little details every inch of people don't do that. They actually work, they actually do things. They don't freaking do that. It's just an aesthetic thing for people, I don't know, who don't do anything, but
Well,
the
I,
knife industry doesn't need it.
I don't know about you, but when I was in the military, I'll be honest, I tried to carry as little crap as I possibly can. Like there was
Yeah.
one time that they were trying to get me to qualify for a pistol so I could start carrying a pistol on me. I was like, oops, I missed a qualification. Like I got busy and missed a qualification because it's like I don't want a pistol being even issued to me because all that's going to be is a 5 pound weight dangling around on my leg and be just extra crap to carry around.
Yeah. Yeah. I carried that Tops Dart for almost the whole deployment. When I didn't, I carried something else. I carried a GG&G Tomahawk, which was like 3 pounds for a good bit of the deployment. So I got yelled at. Um, but I learned. I did, and especially when I started nearing the end of the deployment. I was like, man, I haven't used this Tops Dart that I've been carrying around. By the way, Tops at this time, they when you bought a knife for Tops at this time, if you wanted it to be sharp, you had to pay extra. So straight up on the website, you could get it with a keen edge, but it would be weaker and not as work ready because, and this myth is still prevails today with the ignorant, the idea that a sharper knife is thinner. No, no, you just literally didn't sharpen the freaking knife. I never got that knife sharp ever.
Well, I will say, I had that one experience. I decided to finally try a Winkler knife one time, and I got it, and it was called the Huntsman, and is like about the size is a little smaller than an SE3. And I remember her when I got it, I was like, okay, this is a $350 knife, and this SE3 is infinitely better knife than that Winkler was. And that Winkler was like butter knife sharp. It had no edge to it whatsoever. And I sent it right back. I was like, okay, for that kind of money, I personally think a knife should be, well, at least sharp, and
Yeah,
actually.
at any price point, if you sell a knife, it should be sharp. At any thickness of edge, at any thinness of edge, if you sell any knife at any time, it should be sharp. And if you can't get the knife sharp, you shouldn't be selling knives. Now, Tops has changed. They sell sharp knives now. This was 2013. This was a little bit earlier in their history. This was the first run ever of the Tops Dart. And I think one of their first times ever using S30V, which they stopped doing like basically immediately because they destroyed the heat treat, probably because you can't heat treat S30V over an open flame in a
Hmm,
furnace quickly.
hmm.
I don't know. But anyways, they do different steels now, of course, but back in the day, I wish I still had that thing just because I deployed with it. I did have my scorpion's tail karambit that I carried on the back of. I can't start talking about Tops. I can't do that tonight. Yeah,
That goes down into like a deep rabbit hole, and
have a good night, Jake.
then it turns into a tops video and not necessarily.
Yeah, yeah, this is Kronos. Well, I don't know. I don't have anything really else to say about Kronos. I just I don't know. They need, if they're gonna invest. What's up, bud? Yeah, I didn't know. Well, I did know that I was streaming tonight, but I didn't advertise it well. That's on me.
Yeah, I didn't
I
have.
don't know.
I made a post on YouTube like 15. prior, and then
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of people thought it was my channel and not Jacob Peterson's, and we both got confused on whose channel it was actually going to be on, and so we're kind of redneck engineering this whole thing like as we go,
Yeah,
basically.
I was, like, mowing the lawn, like, right up to 5 minutes before, I was still dripping sweat. I stink. Straight up, like, I need to shower, and then I've got a bunch of knives to ship tonight. Uh, I've been selling knives every day, so that's been a huge blessing, so
Well, I guess
anyway.
to go into a little caveat here. My knife design through Very Good Knife Company, the Huntsman, it's going to be that kind of, well, I here, let me see if I could just kind of
See a
actually,
picture for us.
huh?
Show a picture for us. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was actually thinking about talking about that, and then I got distracted, but we definitely need to talk about that,
here,
before
I'll
we call it a night here.
on my channel real quick and flip the camera around and show you guys here. All right. Now flip this around. Here's my channel. This is going to be my knife right there. Going to be produced by Very Good Knife Company. Uh, it's going to be dropping sometime in August. I'll get kind of more of a definite date when it's going to be dropping. I think he's only going to have like 10 to 15 of them on the first drop just because, he's
That's
a
good.
small maker and that's a lot of knife to produce. So, um, and we're
Especially with those tall, clean grinds.
yeah, I I am he's actually already sending that one back to me. And so I'm very get that in hand and start um um kind of showing it off and showing what it can do and all that good stuff. And I'm gonna try to get you and a few other YouTubers one in hand as well. So
I'd look forward to that. So Glebco 2K, Glebco 2K asked, "Are you going to send one to Joe X for destruction?"
Probably not. And I mean, I don't have a lot of money to buy one. If Joe X wants to buy one, then that's kind of on him, and I don't care. He's cool.
Maybe
And
Jake could split the cost with you.
yeah,
I would have sent one of both of my knives to him at this point, but nobody nobody really wants to see how Joe X destroy this. I mean, it wouldn't be a very long video, Joe X style. Also, I would feel bad for Joe X if he tried chopping anything with it. I am interested to see how it would do stabbing into cars. And you know what? Maybe I need to do that. When I destroyed mine, I was just doing wood stuff because that's what I do. But
yeah. And you've seen a prototype of my knife. I changed up a few things with the Very Good Knife Company version. Gave it flat handle scales just because I felt like it would. Well, that's one
index,
kind
yeah,
of a Very Good Knife Company kind of does his handles, and I kind of wanted to work within his kind of purview, anyways. But
yeah,
also, my experience, I've been kind of bouncing between whether I like ultra contoured handle scales or even kind of more flatter and something that I'm going to be chopping with. I almost have found that I like something with just more basic and flat just because I've found that there's been a couple times that something that's ultra contoured has a tendency to want to roll in your hand more than something that is just flat. And so, we changed that up. I had the scales go all the way out to the guard. And one of the things I had him do is he kind of put some, we milled out some out of the tang to try to take some of the weight,
lighten up the thing a little bit.
put more weight towards
That's
the
nice.
blade, which I know some people will complain about that. Like even I've heard a lot of people complain about like the Beckers doing that, but the Becker BK7 balances really well because they do that, you know. And so,
So actually, when Jake was talking about his flat-sided scales, which I love, very good knife companies' knives. I love their flat sided scales. And the workhorse is not half-inch thickness. It is 0.391 of an inch. But when he was talking about the flat-sided scales, I wondered, with how much I use knives for what I do, have I lost touch with the regular user? I like contoured scales for everything,
mhm.
but is that because I've used them so much for so long that I've adapted to it? And if that is the case, is my review now less valuable to a person who hasn't adapted to that or doesn't like that? Now, this could also just be different hands prefer different things. I've got really long hands, so there's a chance that the way I'm able to wrap around it, maybe I have less rotation problems. It could just be the way we're built or what we like. But the second he was talking, because I do love his scales and I do expect it to be absolutely fantastic. I do see the logic behind it, but I was like, have I wonder, you know, I
Well,
wonder.
a way to do it right and a way to do it wrong. And so like, I think a lot of us has a sour taste in our mouth with like flat scales because, we remember the back in the
Plop.
day Pops and Essie and everybody coming out with just these flat blocky scales. But then at the same time, um
Your
you test
brother says you have baby hands.
it's funny, my twin brother Kennard that's in the chat, we're twins and he has bigger hands than I do. So I don't know how the hell that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um but you tested out the TRC Apocalypse and those handles are very comfortable, but yet they're still flat on the sides. There's no contouring whatsoever. And so I when I tested that knife, I was like, wait a second. There is like a way to make flat scales still very comfortable, and very good knife company is doing that. Like this is the walkabout model, and this thing is like perfect ergonomics. It fits my hand perfectly. It doesn't want to rotate or anything, and I could just do that ninja death grip, and it doesn't fatigue my hand in any way, shape, or form. Just like the Becker BK7 that has contoured scales, and so but that at the same time, and I'll call them out. Um, when I injured myself with the Work Tough Gear Puzon Wilderness Bowie, and part of that was my own fault. But at the same time, I think part of that might have been just the fact that that handle was so round and contoured that it just wanted to rotate in my hand. And even Peterbilt Knife Guy almost got himself with the same knife because of this. And so, I think there's kind of a good balance of like too flat and not contoured enough or like overly contoured almost, and there's kind of like a good in between.
So Brandon Sutton says, I like more contouring on the bottom and have it be more square on the top. So I would say, aesthetically speaking, I don't have a lot of experience with knives like this, which is actually kind of weird for me to say. So now I need to find one like this. But with what he's talking about, I've seen makers where it's more flat at the front and then it curves into a Coke bottle shape at the bottom. Every time I see that done right, I'm like, holy crap, that looks amazing. And now I want to give it a try. Josh at Redbeard Blade said contouring can be amazing if done right. So what I would say is, either with contouring or with flat-sided scales, it's going to come down to a large degree to thickness, blade height, and radius. So the tops knives generally were thick with the scales, lightly radiused, and tall in the blade. So you're holding a stupid 2x4. And I have a lot of long standing issues with them. I had issues with them in Afghanistan. I had had issues with them repeatedly after that. And I've got a new top start, I think, sitting right behind me. It's still awful with jimping in all the wrong places. But I didn't mind the hungless stock scales as much. Now I love the contoured TKC scales, and I love Lucas Carroll's scales, but the stock scales, although they're not as good, I didn't hate them. I could use an SE Hungless with the factory flat-sided scales all day, but the proportions are right. So, um, it's a balance, and at the end of the day, like you got to use the knife.
Yeah,
Now, when it comes to round handle scales, you didn't do my bottle challenge, did you? With the Adventure Craft back in the day?
I didn't have an adventure. I only had your jackalope.
That's
So
a fail on my part. So this is a very round handle, and so it's not meant for chopping, guys. It's not meant for anything where a lot of rotation could be a problem. However, when we did the bottle challenge and I was cutting through three and a half bottles, this would rotate really easy because it's also so short. And that made the challenge much more difficult than anticipated, especially with the blade height. You don't have much front and back leeway going through that bottle because it's almost as thick as the blade. Anyways, that was a lot of fun. I need to do more stuff like that. That's what we're doing. Anyways, well, so let's see. You have a drop of your knife from Very Good Knife coming. Did you say in August?
yes, August. I don't know if I have a specific date yet, but it's going to probably be mid August from what I've heard. So I'm going to try to update guys when I know more. And like I told you before, I'm going to try to get at least a few of them out to other YouTubers to kind of like get the word out on the model and see what you guys think of it too, because we kind of want to see if there's any little tweaks and stuff like that that we want to change on it and stuff, and kind of.
Okay. The thunderstorm finally hit, and I'm thinking in my head, like, what did I not bring in time when I got done mowing? But it's too late for that. In August, I think, guys, the way manufacturing works, it might not be August, just FYI. But I believe I'll be dropping some some of my knives, the Jackalope and Adventure Craft in A2 with a stone washed finish. So finally, I'll be back to high carbon. Very excited for that. I believe we will have some
Hey,
mutants.
goodness, right there too.
So I'll get you a mutant, Gabe,
Awesome.
and I hope that you like it.
I think I've been wanting to get hands on a mutant for quite some time.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Wild. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of Turnbull restoration. They take late 1800s, early 1900s, incredibly valuable historic firearms, and they refinish them to look like new. And they do such a good job of it that I think they're the only people that refinish historic guns like that where people don't consider it to hurt the value, collector's value of the firearm. They do such an amazing job. I will be sending a lot of these knives to them for a true gun blued finish.
That'll be awesome. That'd be really awesome.
That's going to be a whole thing. So the mutant will be A2 as well. My high carbon steel knives uh, so far will be A2. My plan currently in the future for my big beater knives will be 15 and 20.
That'll be awesome. I've never tried 15 and 20. I've seen some guys. Actually, the first time I've ever heard of 15 and 20 was some sword makers using it and make swords and stuff. But I had one guy. I can't. Well, it's in Russian or Ukrainian or something, and so I can't pronounce his name. But he's asking how much will the design cost, and will it be in 80 CrV2 steel? Yes, it will be in that crusty and trusty 80 CrV2 steel, and the cost we're still kind of trying to like figure that part out, but expect around 350 or so, which, well, some people's gonna look at that and be like, "Oh, that's a deal," and some people's gonna complain about it, but when it's an American-made knife on a small shop and everything, that's actually pretty fair in my
It's a
opinion.
good deal, and it's especially a good deal. Are they gonna come with a sheath?
Yes, with a Kydex sheath.
His sheath work is very good, and when you consider that, that will be a phenomenal value.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very impressed with his sheets that he comes with his knives, and he's already showed me one. He actually, how my blade actually flares out. He actually somehow figured out how to do one with a taco style sheath, which I'm
Nice.
very impressed with that.
It takes, blocking, and it's a lot of extra work, so poor guy. I hope he found a way to do it easily. Actually, Walkman Knife and Tool just designed, and I don't know if he's the first person to do this or not, but he designed a 3D printed insert that goes over the knife's edge that you leave in there when you do your kydex, and then you pull it out when you're done with the knife, and that insert gives you the width that you need exactly where you need it for the kydex to have good retention. And that's very clever as well. It's a clever way to do blocking as compared to old school, which was literally using specifically cut out pieces of wood that would fit in there to do the kydex around to give the edge the space that it needs to come through without. Anyways, whatever.
One of these
Uh,
days, I need to get out to Watchman Knives because if I recall right, they're based out of Kansas City, Missouri, which is only about an hour and a half from me. So I might have to contact them and kind of
yeah, pretty
go
cool
to it.
people, cool family. As I understand it, a homeschooled kid and family that are out there starting their own business and learning all of this the real way. I've got huge respect for that.
Yeah, I do too.
So, well, I better get going here, man. It's a little late, and I've still got to shower, and I've still got to ship.
Yep, I've been at it all day too. So I'm gonna call it night. And thanks for having me on.
You know, I'm not shipping tonight because tomorrow's the 4th, so there's no reason for me to rush. Uh, Enjoy your 4th while you are not shipping as well.
Yeah, don't lose any fingers and or anything like that. Right?
Yep.
Trees
Yep.
reason for the season, I guess. But
Have a good night, man.
yeah, you too.